of our great state of Uttar Pradesh, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the CSJM University, I extend you a warm welcome. We are delighted to have your august presence in Shiksha Manthan 2023. After the inaugural session of Shiksha Manthan 2023 by our Honorable Governor of Uttar Pradesh and Chancellor of State Universities, we have gathered here to continue with a session entitled Enhancing Institutional Excellence, a focus on NAC, NIRF, QS World Ranking, and NEP 2020 implementation. We are thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Vinay Pathak, for his guidance and for providing us an opportunity to organize Shiksha Manthan 2023 at Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj University. We have gathered here in the first afternoon session to focus on evaluation parameters in QS ranking, while the second session will be centered around strategies for improving QS ranking. QS World Rankings is a portfolio of comparative university rankings compiled by global higher educational analysis company Quacquarelli-Symonds, that's by QS. The first edition of performance-based analysis of global universities was published in 2004 by Times Higher Education magazine. These rankings are based on methodologies that consider a range of factors, including academic reputation, employer reputation, research impact, and internationalization. Today, we are happy to welcome Dr. Ashwin Fernandes, an expert in QS rankings and a well-known ambassador of the quality education. Dr. Ashwin Fernandes is currently serving as the Regional Director for Africa, Middle East, and Southeast at QS Dubai. He works closely with institutions across the regions to support the drive for excellence and capacity building. Dr. Fernandes is also an author which delves deep into the evolution of higher education in India throughout history. Sir, we welcome you to our university and are honored by your graceful presence. This informative session will be chaired by Lieutenant General Dr. Bipin Puri, who is the recipient of Param Vishish Seva Medal and Vishish. He has served in Armed Forces Medical Services for more than 4 decades with the specialties as surgeon and pediatric surgeon in hospitals, training and research establishments of the AFMS, including flagship institutions such as Armed Forces Medical College Pune and the Army Hospital Research and Referral, New Delhi. On behalf of CSJM University, I would like to welcome you and would like to invite you on the dais to chair this session of evaluation parameters in QS ranking.
A very good afternoon to everyone who's present here today. I would have loved to do this session in Hindi like my colleague Sanjeet has done, but as the name suggests, I'm originally from Goa, so our Hindi generally has not been that good. So please forgive me for that. I will try to, in whatever I can in the next hour to 2 hours we have, give you as much information to motivate you, to aspire you, to look at the world, the Asia rankings, so that you can use these rankings as a way of benchmark. So, I represent QS and have been with QS for 12 over years, seen many institutions evolve in the last 12 years at QS, including some which have jumped into the top 100 in the regions I handle. So, right from journeys across landscapes, across various regions, I've seen institutions evolve over the last many years. So I hope some of the information I have here today will give you the knowledge and the information what you have come here for. But first and foremost at QS, our mission, which is we are a mission-led organization,
and it is to empower motivated people around the world to fulfill their potential by fostering educational achievement, international mobility, and career development. So at the heart of what we do at QS, we keep the students at the heart of what we do at QS. And that is why our mission is so important, because it's all about supporting international students. And that is why we were founded. We were founded 30 years ago at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania as a master's thesis. And since thereon, we have built a legacy of 30 over years which empowers higher education globally. The rankings, the World University rankings, what we see today, and the Asia ranking and so on, have a shorter lifespan. This year, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the world ranking. So it's one of the oldest rankings in the world. In the time span of what we have worked, we have built close relations with around 1,500 universities. We collect data for 6,000 plus universities in the world. Before I go into any ranking content, this is generally what I present, so you know the organization where I'm representing, which is a very mission-led organization. So the QS brand, and why is it important? Our website, our portal, topuniversities.com, receives 50 million visitors every year, and that number is growing as we see it. Also, we've seen that various governments in the world, various agencies in the world are using rankings for various purposes. So as a brand, and when we look at the Meltwater report, which is an independent study, QS has a 65% share of global rankings at the moment. That's the largest share. We work with over 15 governments of the world officially, including India, and we have 40 governments in the world using QS data for various decision-making activities. We have numerous state-level engagements across the world where various states are using data for various purposes. And that is what makes us proud, is that we actually see the impact of QS rankings on the work which is happening in the higher education sector. But ladies and gentlemen, there is an enduring challenge which QS has. And before we go into the further landscape, I would like you to ponder and think about this quote from late George Box. And George Box says, essentially, all models are wrong, but some are useful. So today, I'm not here to tell you that QS is the best ranking. QS is not one of the only rankings available out. It is not a correct ranking. The parameters might not fit all your requirements, but it is a useful ranking in the world. So look at every ranking as a useful ranking, because the rankings are not the goal. The outcome, they are the outcome of the work you do. Alright? So keep this thought in mind, because this will come when we are presenting various factors throughout the presentation today. So while we're looking at data, QS has to ensure that data is available, is robust, is global, and is meaningful. So all of you, when we have seen a great presentation earlier on the NIRF ranking, the parameters in NIRF might be great for India, but when we look at international benchmarks, we would have a challenge in collecting probably similar kind of data and making it meaningful across different countries, okay? So we are trying to collect data from 104 locations and countries globally, 6,500 universities. So not every of your type of institution, the challenge would be covered. But remember, George Box, essentially all models are wrong, but some are useful. And that actually places an inherent expectation that rankings are really the best thing to happen. And for that, I think we need to start looking at rankings as an added quality assurance model. They are not here to replace any national ranking. They are not here to replace any accreditation, but they are here to support and be in addition to any other quality assurance model. So like you have the UPCRAM here, which is great because QS can fit in so well with the aspirations you have at Upcram, or you might like doing a national ranking in the UP state. So look at QS or rankings at an added quality assurance model. So who are the rankings produced for? While you start looking at various parameters, remember the mission of QS, which is we are ranking for students primarily. Of course, we have governments, policymakers, alumni, scholarship providers, everybody using the QS rankings for various purposes. But at the end of the day, it is actually for students to make those life-changing decisions. And why is that? These are some of the countries which are using QS data. Alright? Now I'll give you an example. You have the UGC graded autonomy, which looks at if you are in the top 500, you will get A grade, right? Or you're looking at the IOE project in India. So you're looking at the QS rankings. Or very close to the coast of India in the UAE. If you have a degree from a QS ranked top 100 university, the government is giving you a 10-year visa to live in the country without any sponsor. So it's called a golden visa. Or if you look at Singapore, if you have a degree from a QS ranked institution in the top 1,400, the Singapore government is giving you a work pass. It is much easier if you have in the top 500, top 600, but the chances of being approved are even higher if your university is ranked. So there are several examples of what our rankings used for. And these are just some of the countries which are using them. And there are numerous others, including the new UK scheme for skilled and talented individuals, which is also looking at the QS ranking when they're trying to get people to come and reside in the UK for some high-tech performing jobs. So that is the basis or the setting the stage on why these rankings are important. But at no point in time should you pursue rankings. Ranking should actually come out of the outcomes of what you are doing in the institution. Alright? So, but I have to give you a health warning before you, whoever smokes or whoever has any of the good habits, there's always a health warning on the cigarette pack. So the health warning here is that we are not giving a prescription. Okay? This is just a diagnosis. What you have to do then will depend on what kind of university you are, what kind of funding you have, what is your mission at the university, where are your students coming from, where is your faculty coming from. So you have to look at all the data, and Sanjeev's presentation earlier was excellent because he actually told you what you have to do, and that everything which you put through that process will come out as the output of rankings. Now, there are 4 areas which I think are very important, and I'll tell you a short story. When I joined QS in 2011, the summer of 2012, I visited a country in the Middle East, and it was my first time traveling out, talking to universities, and I was also very bit nervous. And when I went to this very famous university, big university, I had set up a meeting with the president, as always, and the gate, there were people to receive us, me and my colleague, and I was so happy that somebody is there at the gate to receive us in. They directly took us to the vice president's office, and the vice president said, what are you people doing here, We never invited you all, and there was no reason to go to the president directly, because I'm handling the quality assurance portfolio. And these rankings are all a conspiracy and a lot of things, and he gave us 2 bottles of water, small ones, don't see we have them here, and he said, never come back to this campus, ever. Okay, that was in the first year. Within 3 years, the same institution called us back and said, can you come and tell us how do we submit the data for these rankings, because we want to actually be ranked. And we asked them, what happened? Last time you said, we are not interested. He said the government has set KPIs for us now, and even though we're getting all the funding from the government, they want us to show what are the outcomes of it. While this shouldn't be the case, but that just goes to show that it does have an impact on accountability and transparency of a lot of institutions globally. Okay? It does help with recognition. It will also help you, for those of you who are aspiring to go for the Study in India program and get international students. QS rankings is one of the most prominent rankings almost in Africa, Asia, Middle East, parts of Europe, in US and some countries there are different other methods used, but definitely it does help the student mobility. It helps you to improve your performance and definitely is a sign of economic prosperity. Why is that? Now, as the Honorable Prime Minister's vision is to create a $44 trillion economy by 2047, right? And how can we do that? We can do that by having great universities, which are doing an enormous amount of research. And that is why I have the two statistics available here, which says that the top 30 countries by GDP, by purchasing power parity, make up almost 1,000 universities out of 1,500. So there's a fact is definitely that those top 30 countries which are doing so well, have good universities, make up most of the ranked universities. When we look at the R&D spending, Israel has the largest R&D spending, and they have a huge amount of representation. Being a small little nation, okay, they have more universities in the ranking today than ever before. So the top 20 countries where Israel is leading makes up 895 universities out of 1,400. Now that is where you should be looking at. If you want to create UP as a hub of global higher education, if you want to be part of this statistics, we have to start looking at rankings and benchmarking. You have to start benchmarking and not chasing the rankings. Okay? So that sets the stage for what the rankings are, why is it important, and always remember George Box, what he said, essentially all models are wrong. So, some statistics first. So I have broken down this presentation to 3 bits. The first is setting the stage, which I've just done. The second is some numbers. So you can see how do you perform at an India level, at a UP level, and which are the universities that have the potential to come up with the ranking. So that's the second part. And then the third part is going to be looking at the methodology in a little bit more detail so you can see where do you benchmark, alright? So, the last 3 years, so the last part here, WUR is World University Rankings 2024. We ranked this year, 2 weeks ago, 20th edition, 1,500 universities in the world across 104 countries, out of which 45 are from India. Now that number in the last 8 years has actually increased 10 times. So there is a direct impact of some of the work done by the current government, and we can see 5 universities from UP, which in 2021, because how we do it as a rankings is like the car models you buy. You always have the year, we release it in this year for rankings for next year. So we just released 2023, the 2024 model ranking. Okay? So 45, 41, 35, a direct impact of the work happening. Now we can also see from 4, you now have 5, and we need to get that number up to 10, to 20, and depending on what aspirations the state has. Okay? Now, we also have, that's the world ranking, covering all the countries in the world. But because we wanted to also provide a very comparative ranking of Asian countries. And QS is the only ranking which does a true Asian ranking, okay? Because if you look at some of the Asian rankings, they also include Middle East. Middle East is not Asia. And Australia also cannot be counted. So what we do, all the countries from Japan until Pakistan, all in between, in the middle, are counted. So there's 2 Asian ranking. We have 8 universities last year. 7 the year before, and 7 the year before that. So there are potential for another 3 more from here to go in the world rankings. Right? So that's the second ranking. World ranking, Asian ranking, and then, okay, this is a quick one. This is the rise of India. You can see from 2014, from 7, 10, 14, 20, the number of Indian universities in the world ranking has been the highest since the time we have produced the ranking. So there's a clear sign that Indian universities are doing the right things. How do we get the 45 to 85 to 100? Because China has 85 universities in the world ranking. And that's what we want to do, is compete with China. We already have become the world's most populous country, right? So we should be able to beat China in the world ranking as well. And when I say we, even though I represent QS at world in the Arab region, the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, I'm Indian at heart. So for me, really, there's a true motive and a true joy for India to do better. Okay. So that's the rising performance. Now, this is a quick comparison of the 4 rankings which I think all of you look at. So QS, which is right on top there, this is the top institutions. The IIT Bombay this year at 149, IIT Delhi at 197, and we do have UP in there, Kanpur at 278. Of course, we would like to see some state universities make it to the world ranking. Now, when we compare QS with NRF, because we've seen already the comparison earlier. So if you would do well in NRF, it does look like it kind of matches what QS is also producing. THE have a completely different set of institutions in there, and the Shanghai has a different, only one in the top 400. So this is the top 400 across the ranking. So definitely continue the good work you're doing at NRF. Look at international rankings with the landscape and a benchmarking purpose, because it kind of matches what NRF also does. So who are the institutions from UP in the world? Do we have all of them here today? So IIT Kanpur, IIT BHU Varanasi, Aligarh Muslim University, Amity University, and Banaras Hindu University. This is in the world ranking only. Okay, we have 5 of them. When we look at, do we have any of these institutions here today? No? Okay. Only state universities. Okay, so Banaras is also a central, I think. Okay. Now this is where you might get excited a bit, because this is within easy reach. Okay, what do we have? We have, of course, IIT Kanpur, Amity, Banaras, Hindu, IIT BHU. We then have Shivnadar, Triple IIT Allahabad, University of Lucknow, okay, who's already there, Manav Rashtra International University. So 8 institutions in there. Okay, so we can actually start working on having more institutions by looking at the methodology. It is not as complicated. Yesterday we did a session with the Chhatrapati Sahuji Maharaj University and the quick discussion, and we've seen that there's potential even for them. So let's look at how we can start getting more of your UP universities in this ranking. Now, this is the subject ranking. So we have the world, Asia, and then we have subject rankings. Now, subject rankings is a specialized subject-only ranking. So if you are a medical school only, or if you're a business school only, or if you have a specific field and you are not multidisciplinary, you can aim for the subject rankings. So this is India's performance in the subject rankings, and we can see that, of course, in the 5 areas there are several institutions in there. But which are the institutions from UP in the subject rankings? Because it's a different landscape of the world. And these are the institutions in the subject rankings. I haven't put everything here because it was not enough space, but I have it on a different slide I can show you. We do have the regular IIT Kanpur, Banaras Hindu, Amity, Aligarh Muslim, and then we also have the King George Medical University, which is ranked in life sciences and medicine. We have the Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences and Triple IIT Allahabad and Lucknow. So you can aim for 3 rankings with QS: the world, Asia, and the subject rankings. Okay, any questions so far? Or would you like to take questions later? Okay, perfect. So, let's get into what is that we have to do. So, this is the third part of my presentation, which is on methodology and how to. Alright? So, first and foremost, before you understand how to, you have to understand when. When do you have to take action? Now, this is how this pointer doesn't work here. So the world ranking here you see just got released last week. It was the 2024 edition, but the year is 2023. The Asia ranking is coming out very soon, and that is going to be in November, again 2024 ranking. The sustainability ranking, which we are introducing for the second year now, and you can of course participate in that, is going to be released in December. And it is going to be the 2024 ranking, and it will be for the current year. This one is the fourth most important ranking for you to consider. Why is that? Of course, the fact is the youth of today are becoming much more informative on sustainability, but sustainability now has become part of the world ranking. So, if you want to compete in the world, you have to start looking at sustainability. Okay? In the true sense, I will show you what it is. So, there are 4 rankings, and then of course subjects, which will release in March 2024, also called the 2024 ranking. Now, can you participate in these rankings now? Unfortunately, no. Because we start our process every year in January, and we close in March. So the current system here for these rankings has all closed. Okay? But you can start working for the next cycle for January 2024. Okay? And it's really the perfect time to do it now, because it requires at least 3 months of preparation. So all those which have aspirations, state, private, whatever type of institution, single faculty, start looking at which of these rankings would be relevant for you. Okay? So what's the first thing? What's the criteria of the World University Ranking? So to be ranked in the world, and I would say also in Asia, the same conditions apply. You need to offer both undergraduate and postgraduate programs in the university for Asia ranking and the world ranking. You don't need this in the subject rankings. Okay? The next is you need to offer at least 2 of these broad 5 faculty areas: arts and humanities, engineering and technology, life sciences and medicine, natural sciences, and social science and management. So, for the world, that's why you see King George and the other Sanjay Gandhi Institute are not ranked in the world and the Asia ranking, because they are a single faculty institution. Okay? Fine? And the third is that you need to have at least 100 papers indexed in Scopus. Fine? These are 3 requirements for the world and Asia. UG plus PG, 2 programs across the 5 areas, and 100 papers. Plus, another condition for the world only, okay, this is only for the world, is that you should be in the top 20% of academic reputation. So all of the 3 for Asia and the world, the last one is only for the world. Alright? You'll understand what academic reputation is in a while. So are you ready for the methodology? Okay, good. Perfect. So this is the 20th edition or 20th anniversary edition methodology. It is just out a week and a half ago. A major change, the first time in 20 years QS has made such a change, and the methodology is 30% weight for academic reputation. I will come to you what academic reputation is in a while. So 30% for academic reputation. Think of this as global academic opinion of the best universities. Global faculty telling us, or even faculty within India, I'm saying, when I say global is everybody in the world, coming together in an expert survey and telling us who are the best universities. So that weight is 30%. Another 15% for employer reputation. Employer reputation is employers or industry telling us which universities produce the best graduates. So almost 45% is from survey data. Now, you might be thinking, well, it's quite a lot for survey data, but this entire process is managed by QS independently. There are a lot of checks and balances used, and I'll show you what those are in a while. But this has been the centerpiece of QS rankings for many years, has worked very well, and produces almost accurate results like NRF when you look at a national level. Okay, so that's 30 plus 15, and then 5% for sustainability. Okay, now sustainability, I will tell you one thing towards the end is the deadline for sustainability is slightly different, but that's a 50% there on top. 30, 15, 5. Moving forward, faculty-student ratio has a 10% weight. So this is an institutional supplied data wherein we look at the overall faculty count and overall student count. We don't set minimum standards like it's there in NRF. We don't say you need to have a minimum of 1 to 15. We leave this to relativity. So across the world, whoever submits the best ratio will get a score of 100 in that indicator, and everybody else is scaled up. Okay, so there is no minimum standards for us for faculty-student ratio. We leave it to what the competition is in the market. Okay, all the indicators work exactly the same way. Then 20% weight for citations per faculty. Now this is one indicator which you can see connects so well with academic reputation. Why? The more reputation you have, the more citations you will. Okay, there is a direct correlation there. But sometimes you have more citations than reputation. That's an unusual case. But 20% there is for citations for the last 6 years only. So QS doesn't give you points for having a faculty member 20 years ago who produced something and you're still receiving citations for it. No. We're looking at citations for the last 6 years, for the papers in the last 5 years. So if you have not been doing any work recently and you are relying on your past glory as being a great university, you might not do well in this indicator. Okay? And this faculty number is the faculty number you submit in faculty-student ratio. Okay? I'm going to go through all of this slide by slide in a while, but I want you to start to visualize and see where do you stand there. Okay? Next, International Research Network. Measuring who do you partner with outside of India. How many countries and how many universities do you collaborate with for International Research Network? More the number of countries, more the number of locations, irrespective whether they're US or they are Bangladesh or they are Nigeria or they're Tanzania, the score is the same. But we want collaboration to happen. Okay? So that's why it is the World University Ranking. So International Research Network, 5%. Then employment outcomes, another 5%. Now think of employment outcomes as two indicators. Half of it is for employment rate. This is data you will submit on the employment rate. And half of it, think of it in the brochure you've just seen in the morning, which has the alumni mentioned there with all the photographs. This is exactly that indicator. Notable alumni. where your alumni are placed around the world. So I like the brochure just like Sanjeev does because it immediately connected me to the indicator we have in the employment outcomes. Okay, are they ranked in any publication? Are they government heads? Are they ministers? Are they globally recognized? Okay, do they run corporations around the world? So that's counted in employment outcomes. All right, is it making sense till here so far? Okay, good. The last part, which is why I asked you is making sense now, because here is where everybody starts to complain. Now, my point is there are two indicators: international faculty and international students. They both have a 5 and a 5%. Now, while we are working on this too, we have 90% to work with. Either the cup is half full or half empty. It depends on how you see it now. We can of course cry about this and ignore the rest, or work with the rest while these two will follow in the years to come. Alright? So I think that makes sense as a good methodology of a global ranking, at least to me. Okay? We could do better, but it looks good. Alright? So I'm going to now take you, if you're okay with this, if you have any questions on this methodology before I go to Asia? Yes. Both. Yes. So more the number of countries plus more the number of universities, better. And it's only for Scopus, by the way. I have to correct myself there. It's only in Scopus. So it's in publications you have had in Scopus. Not, I see every year a lot of people going to international conferences and they just want to sign an MOU. Those MOUs are not going to help you until those MOUs translate into research. Okay? Alright. So, I'm going to go to that in a while. In sustainability, there are about 50 parameters in there. Yes. So I'm going to, yes. I will cover that in a while. Yes, sir.
Do you have another question?
I can take one more, and I have one question from there too. I can do two more only, please, because of time.
The quick one for the 20% variance to citation. I'm ATC and our partner is Chandrasekhar Radhakrishnan University.
Okay.
Indian agriculture is operated in tropics and subtropics. And very small portion is cultivated in the temperate conditions, Himalayan belt.
Okay.
There are 74 agricultural universities. Our mandate is tropical and subtropical crops. They are not tenable in Europe or North America. Therefore, our concentration, because we are working for 1.4 billion population.
Absolutely.
With 140 million farmers. So we are working on most of the occasions by most of the agricultural universities on the traditional crops.
Okay.
Which are not a crop in those countries.
Okay.
How such a big mass of contribution, which is producing 324 million tons of the food grains and 342 million tons of the horticultural commodities, goes unrepresented.
It is represented in the agriculture subject rankings. So if you hold your thought when we come to subject rankings in a while, I will show you how agriculture is already been calculated. How do you, maybe you need to calibrate your university's work a little bit so it reflects in the in this. There's a bit of an echo on this mic. Can I use the other one? Where's the sound guy? Okay. So I'll come back to you in a while, please. Okay. Can you all hear me well? There's no echo, right? I have an echo myself.
So the Professor Ashwin,
Yes.
here.
Where is the question?
I'm here.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So it's a small request.
Yes.
Could we first do your presentation, then have the Q&As?
Sure.
Otherwise, things go beyond control. So if you could
I will
please-
respect the chair in this case and I will move ahead. Okay? So we will come back to questions in a while. But hold those questions because they are very important questions. So next is Asia ranking. Now this is, I would say, the semi-finals before the world. Because you of course want to compete with those in Asia first before you go to the world. So in this ranking, Asia ranking, we have 30% for academic reputation, 20% for employer reputation. Do you see the difference in Asia? Academic is the same. Employer is slightly higher. There is no sustainability. Okay, so it's slightly easier on institutions. Faculty-student ratio is at 10%. International Research Network, which is very light, is at 10% there. Yeah, 10%. And we have two new indicators here. Citations per paper instead of citations per faculty. Okay, it has the same 6 years and 5 years. I will go to some slides in a while. And then, can you slow down this mic? It's a bit too loud on me. Papers per faculty 5%, and faculty with PhD, which is a new indicator in here, at 5%. Okay? International faculty 2.5%, international students 2.5%, and inbound and outbound student exchange 2.5% each. Okay? Now in this indicator, in this set of Asia ranking, we can see the several changes. Okay? Of course, we have exchange students counted here. This is at least for a semester. Students going out, students coming in for short-term exchange programs. Okay? We also have faculty with PhD or a terminal degree, 5%. We are looking at productivity of faculties also, papers per faculty. Alright? It is, I think, a little bit easier on Indian universities. Okay? There's some sound coming there, is it? Okay. Here? No, it's one there. Okay. So, Asia ranking, world plus Asia, right? So now, which one? Yeah, button it's close. Okay. Open the fans. Okay. Now, let us try to look at subject rankings very quickly. Now, the subject rankings, in this case, we have got 52 subjects. You can choose whatever subject you want. Agriculture, we have agriculture in there. You don't want to compete in Asia or the world and want to start with subject rankings? Here you go. This is the methodology at a glance of all the 52 subjects. Okay, where is agriculture? Agriculture is somewhere here. Okay, agriculture, you can see academic reputation is 50%. Whereas academic reputation, some are even more, even less. The reason we have changed the subject rankings is to be sensitive to what the subject is doing. For example, somebody mentioned to me of languages. So for example, classics, you can see here, classics only has two indicators, academic reputation and employer reputation. Agriculture has 4 indicators, which includes academic reputation, employer reputation, citations per paper, and H-index. Only 4 indicators for all the subject rankings, but we are looking at subject information in here. So, for the subject rankings, you don't need to apply. If you are submitting 2 things, you need to submit 2 lists every year. Academic reputation list and employer reputation list, which is in these 2 indicators. Is everybody clear on academic reputation? What it is? It's a survey from academics, right? How it is done, I will show you now. That same information comes in subject rankings, but only for that subject. So, what you'll have to do, and we will go to that in a while, is if you want to compete in subjects and you don't want to do in the world, you'll only have to contact QS to give them this information and the employer information. And I will show what that information is in a while. Okay, the rest of the 2 is collected from Scopus. Okay, are we good till here? Okay, now, let me explain academic reputation in a little bit more detail for you. So academic reputation is the outcome of a QS survey we have been doing since 2004, okay? This year, this was last year actually, we had 130,000 responses, 130,000 responses from the world, telling us which are the good universities in any specific discipline areas. 52 discipline areas are there, same with the subjects. And they tell us in their country which are the 10 best universities for that subject area. And they can nominate or vote for another 30 universities in around the world. Okay? So it's 10 plus 30. And this weight is what actually helps us get the responses for the academic reputation. This year, we had 150,000 responses, 150,000. The number of academics participating both around the world and in India, okay, is increasing. These 150,000 actually voted for 5,381 universities. Now, what you could do as universities, all universities, be it you want to go in world, Asia subjects, you can submit to QS every year a list of your partners. That means whoever collaborates with your university. If you have a partner who's working with your agricultural field in another university in India and abroad, you can submit a list to QS. We accept up to 400 academic contacts from each university every year. So if you're aiming to even be in the ranking in the next 5 years, you don't want to apply right now, please at least submit the academic reputation list, because that will start building your reputation when you are ready to go for the rankings. Okay? So academic reputation. How the survey looks like is structured this way. We will give you these slides if you like, but we get their personal information. We ask them where is their location, okay, and which regions are they familiar with, and their faculty area and subject area. Do we have any people here which have participated in the survey before? Yes, 1, 2, that's it? 3, okay. We need actually, to help UP, we need at least 80% of this room to start participating in the survey. Because if you don't recognize your own universities, we don't expect universities or academics from outside UP or outside India to start recognizing you. Okay? So the whole collective effort of the ranking is to increase the reputation of universities from Uttar Pradesh in the survey first. And that we'll talk to the Upcram cell, and others will try to see how we increase that. Okay? Because that will first help the reputation building of universities from UP, and then we look at, of course, outside UP across India as well. Okay, and then they vote for 10 from their country and up to 30 from any of these locations they have selected. Okay. And employer reputation, we had 75,000 last year, 75,000 employers participating last year. This year, we have 99,000 employers, almost 1 lakh employers who are participating in the survey. Why is this? HSBC today, HSBC Bank, uses QS rankings and this reputation list to make their recruitment decisions. A lot of employers now are relying on some of our data. Okay, we have a new ranking now for data and AI also. So those who are looking to recruit in data and AI are looking at which universities are producing graduates in data and AI as well. So we have close to 54 now subjects, which with 2 more we are adding on. And these lakh respondents voted for 5,542 universities. But all these universities are not ranked, by the way. Yeah, you know that they can rank, they can vote for them, but only 1,500 are being ranked. Okay. The same way for academics, Okay? Employers, you put in your details, put in your location, and look at the regions. You can vote for 10 domestic and up to 30 international. Alright? So, reputation part, which has a 45% weight, between 45 to 50. In the world, it is 45. In Asia, it is 50. This is where it starts from. You need to work on reputation for these two lists. Okay. So we are on schedule. Can we take any questions or?
Are we nearly done?
No, there is another part of it as well. So I'm going to.
So we could have the first part of the Q&As now.
Okay.
Before we get on to
Yes.
research. So, ladies and gentlemen, you'll all agree that this has been just wonderful. It's been very illuminating. But I think that there are a lot of queries, a lot of questions in our minds. I would request you all to please identify yourself when you ask a question. So, Professor Ashwin, you could come in here and you could take the questions. So please, you could stand and identify yourself and then post a question. Please, can the mic go there, please? Somebody with the mic.
Good afternoon, this is Professor R.P. Singh from the University of Lucknow. You have just mentioned the criteria of international faculty employment. So, I have heard and seen, read that there are different criteria for employment: adjunct faculty, professor of practice, tenure-based, full-time. So, what shall be the criteria? Whom you will consider as a faculty member under the international employment? Thank you.
That's a great question because I was expecting that when I heard the earlier presentation as well. So that means we're all on track. So for us, an academic is someone who is doing either teaching or doing research or doing both. We are looking at a full-time equivalent number. That means it is not necessarily full-time. We are looking at full-time equivalent. So how do you calculate FTE? Is that you look at staff members who are contributing the full-time first. Okay, so you count the full count for them. And anybody who's part-time, you count 1/3 of them. Now that is what we give as our advisory. Okay, so full-time plus 1/3 of part-time. Now, if you have adjunct, if you have on contract, if you have people who are coming in, professors of practice, or whatever it is, at the end of the day, the onus is with you to ensure that you submit an FTE number. Okay? Because we collect data from all over the world. And for us, what we want to ensure is that technically they should all be full-time staff. Okay? If they are not, you'll have to start calculating how many hours do they spend and then count the full-time equivalent of it. So if you have an adjunct and they're coming in for a few lectures in a week, you will have to calculate the FTE. So we have some data for you to do that, some guidelines for you to do that. So unlike NIRF, we are looking at last reported year. That means for the last year, which of the faculty did you have? Or if you're planning to do that, you have to wait for the financial or academic year to end, and only once it ends, you can then use that data for the next year. Okay? So if you are planning to recruit or just recruited now, you cannot report the data. It is for last reported year or last financial year.
Any other questions, please? The issue is, Professor Ashwin, if I could just fill up the gaps here.
Please.
See, you can see the numbers of people who are applying for the QS ranking system in contrast to the NERF ranking is quite low, much lower than. The question is, people ask, why should we get into this rat race? So I think I may also be able to answer this question, but I would want you to answer this. Why should everybody get into a global ranking and not restrict yourself only to national ranking?
So, I mean, my purpose today here is not to tell you to apply for QS rankings. Okay? So that's not my purpose here. My purpose is to find out which of you have global ambitions. And if you have global ambitions, you want to have your graduates globally recognized, you want to get international students, you want to get international grants, you want to work as a global player. I mean, I think, I'm so inspired by what our Honorable Prime Minister has been saying and doing of being a leader in the world. So if you want to be a university like that, then please, QS ranking is all for you. If you don't want, if you want to be, of course, there are some universities which will work in the rural area, might not be up for the international game. They might not even be able to apply sometimes. Okay, if you don't have the research, you don't have the reputation. So, but we have specific rankings also for those institutions which are looking at perhaps languages or other areas. But if you have global ambitions, please, this is a ranking meant for you to apply, and it will expose you and your institution to various elements. If you look at my slide earlier, which is on the benefits of ranking, and I want to just flash it just one more time. I think rankings are a lens for you to look at your own performance vis-a-vis what others are doing globally. So accountability, international recognition, student mobility, performance improvement. If you don't know what you're doing currently, of course you benchmark with NIRF nationally, which is good. But then you want to compete internationally. Whenever I go to an international conference, and for those who go to NAFSA in the US, or API in Asia, or EAIE in Europe, the first question any partner would ask you is, what is your rank globally? Because they want to start to compare notes and see whether they would like to send you students, send you faculty. So that's the first thing. It's like your qualifications. So if you want to drive in Europe, your Indian driving license will not work. You have to get an international driving license, right? So this is the international driving license what you have. You still need to come back home and drive with the ride with the Indian license. So whether you need it or not is the question.
Absolutely. Please.
Yes, sir.
Because to me, undergraduate students go for post-graduation or go for research, either go for government job or go for self-employment, or he or she helps in family business, in agriculture. So, what is the employability number?
So,
I take to me,
okay.
every student of my university is employed. What do you say?
So if you have 100 students who have graduated, and 50 of them have gone for further studies, and the other 50 have either been employed, they're self-employed, they have their own business, or they are gone for military service, that means you have 100% employability. You get, because the calculator we have on the website, when you submit the data, removes the number which has gone for further studies before calculating your employability rate. But if they are unemployed and looking for employment, then it's unemployed will be deducted from that number. That's correct? I mean, that's what you wanted to hear, or no?
So we are falling back on time.
Perfect. We'll yes.
I'm Professor Kabia from Clinton University. You mentioned that for world ranking and Asia ranking, 100 district papers are required for scholars. Is it required for each discipline as well? What is
No.
the number for each application?
It's overall.
That is true.
For the subject
If you are,
rankings,
writing, like if you are trying for individual discipline, how many papers are required?
For which ranking? For Asia, world?
Subject ranking.
Okay. For subject, I have a different number for each subject, which is less than 100. If you come to me later, I can show that to you. I'll be more than happy to share that with you.
Maybe for physics or maybe for hospitality, you can give us some idea about that.
I can give that to you when we're done with this part of the presentation.
Right.
Okay? Good. Okay, so the not last part, the part which I think will interest you is research. How is research calculated? First and foremost, we only look at Scopus. We don't look at any other database. Okay? Scopus, Elsevier Scopus is the only database we look at. Very similar to what NIRF is looking at. Now, for us to calculate papers and citations, this is how we do it. So, papers are for the last 5 years. That means, for the current ranking in this year, we will count papers from 2017 to 2021, which are under your institutional affiliation, either as a first author, second author, third author, fourth author, fifth author, whichever level of authorship. So if you're partnering with other institutions and you're a second author or third author, that will still count towards you because you are an author or you're an affiliation on that paper. Alright? So first is the period 5 years, 2017 to 2021, all the papers produced with your institution affiliation. So if you have a faculty member who's publishing it but not using your affiliation, it will not count towards your institution. Okay? Fine. Then citations for 6 years. What we've done is we added one more year at the end for citations. So we're counting till 2022. Now, if you're going to ask me if you want to be ready for next year's ranking is going to be out in June 2024. We will release the 2025 ranking next year. So if you want to impact your citation score for next year, you have time from now until the end of the year to improve your citation score. Because this data, 6 years data, will be used for next year. Right? So, but you can't, of course, you cannot cite your own work. Self-citations are excluded. Okay? So this is the first thing is how do we calculate papers and citations? 5 years, 6 years. On your affiliation only. We will include and exclude certain paper types, and I think, people say QS is not transparent sometimes, but this is great transparency into what we are doing in the whole system. So when you're looking at abstract reports, not counted. Conference reviews, not counted. Editorials, not counted. What we're looking are articles, review papers, conference papers, book chapters, articles in press, and business articles. Alright? Now, this is the part which is going to get very interesting, okay? Stay with me because either you will lose me or you will get me here. We don't include self-citations at all in any of the rankings. First. Second is we place an affiliation cap on the papers. Have you heard of people selling papers? Right? They sell authorship, or can include you as a third author. You pay me a few. So people are doing that as well sometimes. So QS, to counter that, has set an affiliation cap. What is that affiliation cap? Based on the subject. We are starting from top to there. Physics and astronomy, affiliation cap is 100. So any paper that has more than 100 affiliations is not counted in our calculation. Any paper which is more than 100 affiliations, because as with physics, there are papers with 1,000 affiliations. Okay? If it's law, it's 11. Okay? And this shows how many papers we excluded because of that, globally. Okay? So, geology 45. Now, you don't have to do anything particular here, but as long as institutions or faculty members are not excessively adding affiliations on papers, you should be fine. The largest actually is in chemistry. Look at that, 3,000 in petroleum engineering, 3,500 papers which had more than 14 affiliations on a paper, not co-authors, huh? 14 affiliations. Co-authors could even be more. So this is just a way for us to clean up that system. Okay, now this is the part where medical schools will be very upset. We have, my chair is already a medical school, so you will not, but anyway you are not in the world ranking. So if you're in the world and Asian ranking, the first part on top is before, this is how Scopus looks like, generally. Okay, and you can see the big area of life science and medicine there, all the fuzziness. That's the amount of work and noise created by life science and medicine in terms of papers and citations. And then you have the poor little humanities there, languages and liberal arts, which is at this corner. Okay, very minimal work in Scopus. Engineering, pretty good. Natural sciences here, and social science and management. So what we wanted to do 4 or 5 years ago, we wanted to provide a push to humanities. And of course, reduce the influence of life science and medicine using a normalization method. So what we did was, this is how Scopus data looks now after normalization. So if you are humanities here, doing languages, art, and you're producing papers, one paper equals to 10 papers to you. But if you're life science and medicine, one paper equals to half. Only in this. So if you're a medical school who has set up a business school to compete in the world ranking, then it kind of reduces the influence there. Okay? Engineering and technology, 1.5 times more. Natural sciences remains almost the same, slightly reduced, and social sciences improves from 6% to 11%. So it kind of levels the playing field. You don't have to do anything here, but please, we want you, of course, to encourage faculties, the humanities faculties to, of course, produce more as well. This is kind of incentivizing the vice chancellors to also fund research happening in humanities. Okay, good. So we are almost somewhere at the end, but depending on how many questions you'll have and how much time I have, okay, we can continue and go on. We have data for the next whole evening if you like, but I'm sure we have time limitations.
So we have just 5 minutes more to go for the session.
Okay, now this is a very interesting slide. Why is this interesting? This is called the collaboration map. Maybe somebody can volunteer for me, any vice chancellor, maybe I can ask you, which country do you collaborate the most with, outside of India, of course?
UK.
UK, fine. Anybody else? US, great. So if you see this slide here, and I will show you, this shows the first green values, shows the number of collaborations with different countries. Of course, United States right on top there, followed by United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, China, Korea. So these are the countries India loves to collaborate with for papers. So you will of course get your citations and so on. But think of the 30% for academic reputation. Do you actually receive any benefit from these collaborations? What do you think?
Not really.
Not really, exactly. Why is that? Because when you look at the here, respondent country, Malaysia seems to be nowhere in the collaboration map. But votes for Malaysia for India, that means people from Malaysia thinking that India has good universities, is high there. Then United States, then Australia, then Kazakhstan, then the United Kingdom. So if you're looking at collaborating as Uttar Pradesh, which country would you like to collaborate with? I would say go for Malaysia or go for Kazakhstan. Both are 3 hours either way. Okay, so you can look at these collaborations closer to home. But if you're looking at countries which have the highest respect for India, right there, up 61% of the people in Afghanistan which participate in QS rankings survey vote for India. 50% of Nepal votes for India. 46% of Ethiopia votes for India. So if you look at Africa, Ethiopia seems to be one of the, of course, I think we collaborate a lot with Afghanistan and Nepal, but we don't get that many votes because not many academics are there. Okay? So this is the general map. This is just food for thought. We are looking at global collaborations here. We still have sustainability to do and we don't have time. So, we hope we can continue this virtually perhaps, or those who are interested, we can arrange another session for you. But I'm really keen, and this audience has been great. We can continue to have this discussion post this meeting as well. Yeah. What else do I have? Let me just have a quick check of what do I need to show you. Yeah, I like to keep this as a last slide. Rankings are not the goal, but a trophy for a job well done. Okay? Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll all agree that it's been a wonderful exposition of a subject which is not so very well known to us, because we have been doing national accreditation, national ranking, but global ranking not many institutions have been going into. I think it is time for us to think global and have a local connect. I think that's the bottom line really, because अगर आप इनकी सारी तत्व अगर आप देखें, most of the indices are really the same, with a little bit of tweaking in each ranking system. थोड़ा सा बदली है in what percentage, what weightage, what mass they are giving for different criteria. But the fact of the matter is, the standards are really the same. The benchmark may be different. I was very impressed by the benchmark here when he said there are no fixed benchmarks. It is a maximum and a minimum. And whoever's closer to the top is really amongst the best institution. So I think those are differences from the NERF ranking system. And I think QS World is, so people, all of us who have global intent, who want international collaboration, would want our universities to be well known. We would want to be perceived by the world at large as what our university is. And of course, as an institution, I think QS ranking system is something for the asking. And I think with these few words, once again, I thank Professor Ashwin Fernandes for a marvelous exposition. And on behalf of the Chancellor of Uttar Pradesh of our universities, our Honorable Chancellor, I once again thank you for being here this afternoon and giving us such an illuminating lecture. Thank you so very much.
You want to
Thank you, sir, for a valuable and informative session concerning detailed understanding of QS rankings parameter. We would like to continue our session with another equally interesting topic of strategies for improving QS rankings by Professor Ashwin Fernandes, chaired by Lieutenant General Dr. Bipin Puri, PVSN, VSM, Vice Chancellor of King George Medical University, Lucknow. So I would like to invite the speaker again.
So we can continue where we left, okay? That was a long bye-bye for me at least. Okay, good. So I think we've just started to get warmed up for the session, and I have even more exciting stuff for you, okay? Now, subject rankings, and I think some of the institutions which are in the subject rankings have the potential to even do more, okay? Now, this is, I've had a question there from the gentleman earlier on paper threshold for subject rankings. This is you, sir, right? Subjects. Yes. So, these are the number of papers you need for subjects. And I will send you this link so you can download it, you can look at it. Medicine minimum for subject rankings, medicine minimum 190 papers, biology 170, computer science 140, physics, and so on. Okay. I will share this link with you so you can have a look at that. Okay. Now, I have a lot of slides, but let me see which one I would like you to see. So subjects, we have so which are the areas where we are doing good from Uttar Pradesh? Okay, let's look at that. So already 2 universities from UP are ranked in agriculture and forestry. Amity and Banaras Hindu University. To be ranked in agriculture and forestry, let's look at the indicators very quickly. Okay, weighing by subject. Okay. So for agriculture, we have 50% weight for academic reputation, 10% weight for employer reputation, 15% for citations per paper. Okay, again, these are from Scopus, and 15% for H index. Okay, H index of that subject, and another 10% for international research network. Okay, in that subject. So you had a question earlier, and I wanted to come back to you on agriculture. So if you're doing well in agriculture, and you have to be collaborating, you have to be doing your research, you can feature well in the subject rankings. Okay, and you will also need to have the minimum number of papers, and agriculture has yeah, 100 papers. So any particular subjects you are keen on to learn before we go into sustainability? I want to finish on sustainability, and then maybe we can finish earlier if you like. Any other subjects you are keen on? Medicine, yes, why not? Medicine, minimum 190 papers. In medicine, the universities ranked currently are Banaras Hindu University, King George University, and Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute. So we of course want to have more of these institutes. To have more in this area, you need to have minimum 190 papers over the last 5 years first. And then you will need to have do well in okay, you'll have to do well in academic reputation, 40%, employer reputation, 10%. So if you do well in academic reputation, one go. In the world, in Asia, in subjects, you do well in all of them. Okay? So, but in this case, we're only picking the piece for medicine, for the medicine ranking. Okay? Then citations per paper, weight is 20% over the last 5 years for papers, 6 years for citations, and 20% for H index, okay, and 10% for international research network. That's medicine for you. And 190 papers, you should be able to feature. Now, I have a very important slide. I just downloaded it yesterday. Let me see if I have it. You will be very, very excited with this one. What is that?
So, Professor Ashwin,
Yes.
we would want you to capsule what is the title of the talk is Strategies for Improving QS ratings. So if you could just capsule some of information so that there are some takeaway messages that this is what would change or and make your way in QS ranking.
Perfect. I'm going to finish this in sustainability and we can talk of capsulation. My team prepared this yesterday night, and let me see if I can output it. If you're wondering about the potential, then we'll go into some of the strategies of what we need to do. I can't seem to open this file at all. It's very- Piece of it. Because I want to show you how many more universities can be ranked in the subject rankings. Unfortunately, this doesn't open up. No?
Could we, without the slides, if we
Okay.
could,
Now this is what I wanted to show you. This is really powerful. These are all the subjects. Okay. These are the greens you see here are already UP universities on this map out on this. Okay. And the red are the potentials. So your university is somewhere in those reds. Where we rank in each area is the gray area. Okay. So in this one, we rank 340 universities in sociology. There's one right in the edge there which can make it there. So I don't have all the data with me right now, but there is potential. Okay, we have so many. There are 240 here in statistics, and few universities which are like in the pipeline of being ranked. So there's a huge potential in the state. It is just a matter of nurturing. Okay, if you look at marketing, only 20 are ranked, but there are few in the pipeline. Areas like communication, potential to push them up into the communication subject area. Every subject, accounting, on the cusp. So that we have all, literally in all the subjects, you have universities from the UP. These are only UP by the way. I've just mapped UP on this. Okay, so your universities, potentially they could be more than from this room, but you know they are all there and they have the potential of being featured. Okay, now this is done. I want to go into sustainability. Now sustainability is so important for next year if you want to feature in the world ranking next year. So if you have the intention, even the slightest intention, maybe you don't want to participate next year, but you think you may want to, okay? May want to, please submit data for sustainability before the 1st of August. There are 20 more days, okay? Now that is going to impact, and those which are ranked in the world, anywhere around is mandatory for you. So for University of Lucknow and for other institutions, probably which are, I'm not sure which are here, but if you're in the world or other than Asia as well, please submit data for sustainability. I will quickly show you what sustainability data is, and then we will go into strategies, okay? Which the session was. So sustainability ranking looks at 3 areas. Okay, so sustainability ranking is a very complex environment, sustainability and governance ranking. It looks at 3 areas here. Now, for these 3 areas, we are looking at how sustainable is the university, how much of sustainable research do you do, whether you have sustainable education in the curriculum, are you having good governance practices, do you have equality in the university, do you do knowledge transfer, what is the impact of education, are you having employability and opportunities for your graduates, and the quality of life for the university and the people working at the university. Now, part of this data is collected through independent sources. Now, those sources are, I'll show you what the sources are, but what do you have to submit by 1st of August? And I have to put a small warning with the red line below. If you don't submit this by 1st of August, your score for the world ranking may be impacted next year, okay? Because you might get 0 then if you don't submit. So please, whoever in the world or in Asia, please submit this. What is that you need to submit? You have to submit this online on QS Hub. Gender ratios for students, faculty and leadership. First, you need to provide the links for your equality, diversity and inclusion policy. You need to have an office for disability support. You need to have health options on campus. Have a strategy for procurement, sustainable procurement. Have a strategy on sustainable investment. Have a student society on sustainability. Research center on sustainability. And climate science or sustainable course. You have to provide evidence for all these links, basically. Okay? And finally, you need to be able to calculate your CO2 emissions, energy emissions, and water as well. So this is the only data you need to submit by 1st of August. Okay? So please, I will not dwell more on this because you will have to do that. The public data what we collect is collected from various sources. We are looking at gender pay gaps from the government, we look at the PALMA index, so that is already collected independently by QS. This is what you will need to look at for equality, quality of life. This is just for your information only. Okay? And once we do that, we are also picking on whether you are doing any research with SDG keywords. Okay, this is collected from Scopus into 5 areas. Quality of life, so you need to be doing research in these areas. Equality in these areas. Employability in these areas. Impact of education in this area. And sustainable research in these areas. Now, you don't have to do anything at this point in time. My only request is submit this data on QS Hub by the 1st of August. You might get an extension of a week or so, but this has a simple form. on the portal to submit this information. Okay? Fine? Are we good on sustainability? Can we go to strategy?
Please.
Okay, good. Okay. So if you have any questions, please, you have, and those who have already in touch with me always know that I'm reachable on WhatsApp. So that's, you can of course save this number or connect with me on LinkedIn, which is a nicer way, or there's an email. You can always get some of your answers to that, to that the method. So what are the strategies do we need to do for next year's ranking? And this will not take long because we've already talked about it through the last few hours we've been talking. Okay. First and foremost, every one of you, as institutions only. Think about institutions. First, need to register on QS Hub with a username and password. There is no money to pay. Please, if anybody has told you, any consultant has approached you that they want to do this for you, you don't need any consultant. It's a very simple exercise. Please do it on your own. It's at rankings@qs.com is the email which you will use, which you will send an email to, and they will give you the password. Then you need to inform QS who is your official point of contact. Okay? This is the person who is authorized to submit the data. So Hub account, official contact, and then prepare to submit up to 400 of your academic partners. Those people who you think know you well and can vote for you in the surveys. Okay? Not anyone who who your faculty know, but people who really know you well. Okay? And 400 employers who you think would vote for you in the survey. That you cannot approach them directly for asking them to fill up the survey. Okay? You have to submit their names to QS. If they are based in Europe, anywhere in Europe, you need to, of course, at that time, take their permission to submit their data to QS, but you cannot again ask them to vote for you or solicit for votes. Okay, so that's the third thing what you need to do. The next is prepare your employment rate and notable alumni list to keep it ready to submit it by February 2024. Okay. Then let's look at some strategies for you to prepare your academic contacts. Okay, so for the academic contacts, you will submit up to 400 of them. Okay, so if you've submitted a list last year, you will not submit it again this year. You have to ensure that those of European Union, you get the permission from them before you submit them to QS. Also, ask yourself the question, would this contact you're giving to us think of your university or business school or college as one of the best universities in your field or in their field? If you think they are not going to think of you as a great university, they are not going to vote for you in the survey. Alright? Then you can of course send emails to them in a QS prescribed format, telling them, asking them for permission, or telling them that you have provided the details to QS. But at no point can you coach or solicit for responses. Okay? And then once you're ready, once you're happy, you've got 10 contacts, 20 contacts, 40, 100, 200, up to 400, then you can submit them in QS Hub before the deadline of February. That's with academic contacts. Of course, you can refer to this document, and I will share the slides with you, including some bonus slides, okay, which I'm not showing you today, but you can of course go through them, and you will be able to refer to this document and then get more information. Employer contacts. I'm really surprised with universities not being able to capitalize on employer reputation. Why? Because if you have good graduates outside, those graduates themselves are employers as well, who can participate in the survey. And I think that's one of the most underrated indicator for Indian universities in the ranking. So employer reputation, same thing. Submit the contract. If they're in EU, get their permission. Ask the question to yourself: would this graduate actually vote for you, or would this employer vote for you as one of the best universities producing the best graduate? If you think no, don't submit the contract. Okay. And then, have you included all your alumni, campus recruiters, and so on? And definitely upload that on QS Hub, right? I have some more things here, but I will leave that for you to read later. Before we close, I think the chairperson really wants us to wind up the session now because we're slightly over time as well. If there are any more pressing, one last question. Okay, we can do a tea and coffee in as well, yes. Okay. What I would like you all to do, and I'm so tempted, I hope the dates are correct here. Okay. The dates are not correct actually. So we hold one of the biggest international enclaves on India global partnerships. We are doing it in February in Chennai, not Goa. This was actually last year. In Chennai, 10th to 9th and 10th of February. So if you're looking for global partnerships, please come to this event. It's a closed door event. It's only by invite. So please reach out to me if you would like to come to this. And we'll be more than happy to bring such an event to UP in the near future. We have of course done something in Noida in the past, but maybe there's an opportunity for us to host something to really showcase the higher education hub, which you plan to do in Uttar Pradesh. I'm so honored to the Honorable Governor, ma'am, for staying to the presentation. So thank you so much, and I hope your vision of creating this global higher education hub will become a reality very soon. Thank you, everybody, and my host, first and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Vinay Pathak ji and Dr. Pankaj Jani for really having me here, inviting me, and ensuring that I actually turn up despite all the international travel. So thank you so very much. I'm so honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ashwin. So, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to make one or two concluding remarks, and that would be, one is that higher education, you'll already know with me, has undergone a huge amount of change in the past decades. Huge amount of happenings are happening at breathtaking pace, and we are absolutely delighted that our Honorable Chancellor Ma'am, as the captain of the team of all the universities, is helping us, encouraging us, and passionately trying to help get us each of these matrices and try and get us and ensure that we are not only locally recognized and acknowledged, but also globally acknowledged. So once again, thank you, ma'am, thank you, Governor ma'am, for being Thank you, Professor. Thank you, ladies and
ले जाइएगा अपनी
वेबकैम से भी हो सकता है लैपटॉप माइक ऑफ है
To present a token of appreciation to our speaker and to the chairperson. We are thankful, sir, for your presence and for taking out your precious time. I thank the audience for attending this session, and I request all the dignitaries to please join us for tea and coffee. Down is being served downstairs in the lecture hall, and for Chancellor Ma'am and for the speakers, the coffee is being arranged in the audience. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Stop.